So right now, from a schedule perspective, a we have about a 22 to 24 month schedule mapped out with our products, where they fall and what stages they're falling in. Right now, there's a ton in the hopper. Pete Schelling's Ponry, which I'm gonna stop for a second and just say I love Hasels, and I've really enjoyed Red Barricades. I've always enjoyed it, and some of the other ones. But I've had as much fun playing this Hazel as I have any Hazel, and I think you guys are going to absolutely enjoy it. And Pete's brought some of his design uniqueness to the table with not just the scenarios but the campaign game. That's entering final stages, and we use final stage as a loose term for the last 3 to 4 months, or 90 to 120 days before something will go into pre-order. It could be sooner than 90 days, could be a little bit long, but we feel like we're there with Ponry. The testing is for the most part all done. So we're looking at, you know, counter sheet composition, final edits on the rules, tweaking of the rules, getting through Perry's maze of rule edits at the end, which you know, that takes time. That's one. The other one is Karkov. Karkov in Flames is from Andrew Rogers, who did Hatton in Flames. And that one is being play tested now, both on vasl and in person. That's hopefully going to see pre-order this year. On the schedule, it's slated to. But another fun one, smallish Hazel, with a campaign game, SS versus the Russians, Third Battle of Kharkov, small Hatton-sized map, a lot of fun. Right, and you know what? Let me just back up. So, Pete, go ahead and unmute yourself. But Pete wanted to mention something about the Ponry and his design team. So, go ahead and left click. There you go. Pete, go ahead.
Okay, I understand. I'm probably out of the Ponry team. I'm the one that's on Facebook a lot and doing this kind of thing, and even on Game Squad. But it really was a team effort. So I don't mind getting top billing, but really Don and Jim and even people like Matt Zajac and in the old time Chad Smith from BFP submitted a couple scenarios that are still good scenarios and in it. So let's acknowledge the entire team there. That this is a team effort.
Yes, it is, and it always is. And you know,
Right.
please make sure that you guys understand when I say things like that. You know, I tend not to caveat everything I say, just because it's quicker. But I'm never referencing an individual. These products and projects, as Pete can attest, are sometimes massive. And Bill Cirillo, who's here as well, Bill can add that as well. There's always a massive team of insanely dedicated players who are playing raw product, scenarios that are nowhere near balanced. They're spending their time and effort, and it hopefully it results in what we believe, which is as good an ASL product as there is from a quality perspective. I don't hesitate to say our stuff is as good as better than everybody else's out there. And I think from a content perspective, I think we're there, and we're going to try to continue and stay there. But you got Ponry, Kharkov, Marco Polo Bridge is on its way. Play testing is done. It is a couple a little ways out from final stages, but it's an important product for a very big reason. Marco Polo Bridge will be the first product that we ever publish that will be an ASL product and a starter kit product in one. And the reason I think that that's important, and the reason I think you guys might think that's important, is I think it's going to be the first real chance for us to gauge the size of those two audiences. Right? I mean, we've sold starter kit stuff, and we know that ASL players buy starter kit stuff. We've sold ASL stuff, and we know there's some starter kit players who buy that as well. But this will be the first time I think we get an idea on the total audience, the ASL audience. And you know, it's certainly not where it was in 1985. I don't know that any game is, but we'd like to get a better feel on that. And to that end, I got a couple questions that offline before this that I want to throw in here, and one of them was, can MMP create an official registry of ASL players worldwide? I don't know. I don't know if we can. Um, but let me back up, Neil. Yes, yes, they'll ship in one box, and I believe there'll be separate products as well. Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that about Marco Polo Bridge. I believe that they are going to ship as a single product, but I believe they will be selling as separate products as well. So if Brian Yaus can jump in here, or if Perry's here, they can jump in as well. But yeah, that's the idea. Sorry if that confused you guys. So yeah, so Marco Polo Bridge starter kit. Chef DuPont, another spinoff from St. Mariglis, is close to being done, being play tested, and in its, I don't want to say final stage. It's not in its final stages yet, but it's another product. And yeah, Matt, I know there's a Google map of players, but we'd like to get a repository, I think, of players worldwide with contact information for players, to allow you. And I say that for this reason. I live in south of Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't know that there were 5 or 6 players very local to me. Not sure why or how that came to be, but for me to not know that was kind of something that kind of caught me off guard. And I'd like this, and that's just that was a question, and something we'll certainly probably talk about and see if it's a potential possibility. Yes, ma'am. I can't right now, but as soon as I know what you mean. Yeah, there you go. Mother's Day, got to go to the grocery store. But next up, Spanish Civil War. Spanish Civil War is a project out of Spain, and the guys have done it. It's a core module. It's a big core module. That playtesting is completely finished. The final the editing, chapter 8 stuff is being worked on and being done. Final editing for scenarios. That hopefully will be on pre-order this year as well. And then let's see what else. We've got Journal 15 coming up soon. Hopefully to be included, and most likely to be included, will be a one map, a Hazel sort of map, and it's a historical area around the Lisianka area, around the relief of the Corson Pocket, by Ken Dunn, with accompanying scenarios. Actually, you know what? Let me back up. That's wrong. That's not Journal 15. That's Operations Magazine. Sorry about that. Operations Magazine will have an ASL Hazel map in it, and scenarios to go with it. But Journal 15 is on the way, and being finalized, and all the things to go with that. So if you publish ASL content, or you write, or you want to write, please reach out to us and submit something. And then we have Polish Eagles, which is a Hazel on the initial days of the war, the invasion of Poland. Also being done by Ken Dunn. That's in the works, and on the oh, Brian, I was asking, Brian's back. Hey, Brian, Marco Polo
Yes, sir.
Bridge. Marco Polo Bridge, combined product and available separately? Or no?
I don't understand.
Are
It's
we
going to have an ASL version and a starter kit version. They'll be different.
Right, but right. Are we also offering those 2 products separately, or just the one with both?
I don't understand the question. I
Okay.
apologize.
If it's if I buy Marco Polo Bridge, I'm getting the ASL product and the starter kit, correct?
No. If you buy the ASL starter kit version, you get the starter kit. If you buy the ASL version, you get the ASL version.
Okay, so we're selling them independently of each other.
Yes, because the starter
Okay.
kit version will have like the rule
Okay.
book and things that it
Yep.
needs for starter kit.
All right. Apologies, guys.
Whereas
There you
most
go.
ASLers will just be able to play.
Right. Okay. No, I was mentioning how that was kind of a big deal for us to get a feel for kind of the size of our audience in both realms.
Yeah, we don't have a good idea how many ASLers are buying starter kit to give to friends or whatever, which is
Right.
fine. It counts.
Yeah.
But there might be 100 fanatical starter kit guys out there that are, fluffing up the whole market, and we just don't know.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you.
Yep.
Starter Kit Magazine. What? Hey, all right, Brian, unmute again. I heard the name of the Starter Kit Magazine. I thought it was cool, but I can't remember what it is.
Is it basic training?
Basic Training. Yes. So yes, there's going to be a Starter Kit Magazine called Basic Training. That's in the works to be published. All of the things that I'm talking about here, guys, are things that we plan on having on pre-order by the end of 2024. Now that, again, I told you earlier, you don't get to hold me to the letter, but I'm comfortable in saying, as I look at the production schedule, that those are on the roadmap. And then I also have a project, the Fox and the Rats, which is the North African Hazel, that's farther down the road. We also have a submission for Rotterdam with the map. We're in the initial stages of playtesting that. That's next year. And then we also have the beginnings and the ongoing beginnings of a starter kit Stalingrad project on the Red Barricades maps. Don't know where that is, but that is something that's being worked on right now. And actually looks kind of promising. Our big plan for the year and going forward in oncoming years, we want to hit WBC, ASLOC, and Winter Offensive with ASL products at those tournaments. That's kind of where, as we look at an outline for the year, we focus on trying to hit those things. And along those lines, I wanted to throw this out there and have the kind of the community stir on this. I'm curious to know, and you don't have to answer here, but we can follow up later. If any of you out there are good enough players that you're interested in attending tournaments and teaching ASL at those tournaments, and I ask this because I don't want to say taken aback. That would be the wrong. I was impressed with the amount of effort the GCACW guys go to at all the tournaments they're at to have over multiple days learning sessions, teaching sessions to bring players into their games. They're every bit as committed and demented as we are to their product, to their games. And I just thought that there might be a chance, as we talked about at the opening, with the audience growing, you got us as a group getting older and the player base getting smaller. We don't want that to happen. And this is, by the way, this is Ace, one of my parodies. So yeah. And then what else? All right. So I'm going to tell you right now, guys, this might seem odd. I have on my wish list, I have 2 products that are coming out this year that I'm looking forward to beyond everything else. The first one is the eHazel rulebook and the Pocket Hazel rulebook. And those 2, I've got. I don't. If you don't do the e-rule book, you're missing out. I understand the hesitancy to get into the technology, but I got to tell you, it's one of the greatest things ever for me. Spend a lot less time flipping pages and a lot more time playing the game. But along the EASL rulebook guidelines, one of the things I wanted to talk about is a conversation that we've had recently, and we've made a decision to try and go in a certain one of the conversations we had, and just so you guys know, we have we get together a couple times a month to talk about production schedules and all the things that go with that. And one of the things that I caught wind of, not just here but on the Facebook list, but mainly on the Discord channel with the amount of conversation that goes on, was the fact that we had rule books. We have 3 rule books, right? We have the binder rule book, we have the pocket rule book, and we have the EASL rule book. And at some point in time, those 3 were in 3 different states. And I view that, I think a couple of us viewed that as a problem, but I'm not sure that we sat down and put our heads together, and we actually did. And so the plan is to do the following. At some point this year, we're going to republish the binder rulebook, sans the binder, no binder. Number one, because none of you ever use your binder for the rulebook. You always have something else in it, and your rulebook's in its own binder. But we're going to republish the binder rulebook. And at the same time, when we do that, it will coincide with an update of the ESL rulebook. And let's just call that day one. On day one, the EASL rulebook and the binder rulebook will be carbon copies of each other. They will be exact replicas. From that day forward, the idea is that they will always be in that state. And we will do that by the following. When we update the EASL rulebook, which is, I'm going to use air quotes, easy in the sense of producing everything else, what we're going to do is publish the EASL rulebook. And at the same time we do that, we will put online on our website high-res PDFs of the new rules pages that will go right into the binder rulebook, so they will both be in that state. Now, what it will allow us to do, because for those of you who don't understand the difficulties in the rulebook, and I'm sure most of you do, pagination is a big deal, right? I mean, if you add a line or take a line off a page, it can move whole columns, right? And it can shift text on pages it creates a nightmare. So for the most part, physically, we've always been limited to changes that we've had to print 5 pages for an errata page for just 2 or 3 lines on a page. We're not going to do that anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to do the EASL rulebook with the errata. If the errata can't be incorporated visually into the text of the rule that we're doing right away, it'll be hyperlinked on its own page in the EASL rulebook. But the physical binder rulebook will still be up to date. It just may have the errata page might be at the end of the chapter, or it might go in the middle of whatever it is, but they'll always be in the same state. Because I think we all agreed that it was not fair to ask people to have multiple versions of a rule book of what is probably the most technically complicated war game ever made. Now, where that flows into the pocket rule book is that you guys understand every year we publish a new pocket rule book, and I want to say we don't make you buy it. You buy it if you want to buy it. But the fact of the matter is, instead of having you in a position where you have to buy the new pocket rule book, the thought right now is what we would do is we would do the EASL rulebook and the binder rulebook, and then every January we would put the new pocket rulebook on pre-order. And if enough people wanted to buy that new pocket rulebook, we reprint it. That way, we're not. And yes, Jim, the pocket rulebook on January 1st of that year will be exactly what's out with the EASL rulebook and the binder rulebook. The goal here is to make the experience easier for you guys and to have 2 players sitting at the table without different rule books. That's just it's not doing it right by you guys, first off, and secondly, it just makes the game more complicated to play. But that's the idea. That's the plan right now. I'm comfortable and confident that that's going to be how we execute it. But that's just kind of something for you guys to ponder. But again, I can't tell you, the 2 things I'm looking most forward to are the e-Hazel rulebook and the pocket Hazel rulebook. I wanted to quickly mention one thing. This year is the 80th anniversary at Arnhem in Holland. MMP is going over to the tournament, and we're creating a small few scenarios with maybe a map packet for the anniversary of Arnhem to attend the tournament, to sell the tournament, and to raise money for a charity in Arnhem itself. So we're excited about that. And if anybody was thinking about going, just know that there's going to be a lot of us over there. And if the tournament is, I think, Thursday through Sunday, The 80th anniversary is on the Tuesday following the tournament. So we're going to plan on going like Thursday and staying through Tuesday or Wednesday to stay. We also plan to go see Waterloo, Rotterdam, and a couple other things along those things. Let me see this question. Right. So the question Neil wants to know is, it's mid-September, I think, mid to the latter half of September, I believe, Blitzkrieg. So Neil wants to know, why doesn't MMP bundle some version of the rule book with Beyond Valor, either deep discount or something? Both are needed. Yeah. So at the end of this, at the back end of this, guys, you have to understand, and I think most of you do, this is a business for us. We're not going to print product that doesn't make us money. Now we're going to print stuff with much smaller margins, which the reprints and stuff are, but the idea of a potential starter pack, so to speak, where you could buy the rule book and Beyond Valor at a discount. That's something certainly we can talk about or think about. But just so you guys know, the reason we're not doing the binder, number one, is I think Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, the binder itself was $14 to $15 a pop for us to reprint, and we can't sell that at any sort of a real. Yeah, $17 a pop, and which is why we're not. So we're just going to reprint the paper and let you deal with the binders. And so, I mean, there's always we're always looking for different ideas about how to get people in the hobby, and maybe that is one of the ideas. I don't know how many players actually get into the hobby through Beyond Valor, Neil. I really don't. I think if I had to bet over the last 5 years, I would say more players have come into the hobby through the starter kit than through anything. That's spitballing and purely speculation, and Brian can jump in and add to that if he wants. I just don't know. But the Beyond Valor is a massive product, and a massively expensive product to publish and print, as are all the big modules. And for us to physically do that, or financially do that, it has to make sense for us as a business. Because at the end of the day, you guys got to remember, we have which kind of leads to the third thing. We have a binding contract with Hasbro that we have to abide by above all else. It's one of the reasons why I think, just to touch briefly on third party, why we are the way we are about third parties. Listen, I was never a third party guy. I published Fire for Effect with Rob Wilkie, but I didn't actually make product. But the fact of the matter is, we have a contract with Hasbro that doesn't allow us to do things with the IP. We can't just tell, yeah, just go ahead and use the art. We're not at liberty to give artwork permission, so to speak. So, and I would argue, listen, you can think what you want about the third parties, and they're all very different, but I don't think we've ever acquired an ASL player through a third party product. I don't think we've ever. If you think about the mentality behind that, you would need some third party product to be so good that a player that doesn't play ASL would say, "Wow, I'm going to go buy the Beyond Valor in the rulebook because I want to play this," and that's never happened. But so we can't talk about and endorse third parties, nor would we from that perspective. But it is what it is, and they're passionate people. I don't think that third parties grow the audience in any stretch. But again, that's just, and this is 100% my opinion. They don't make us extra money. And again, it's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business for us. And I understand this is a very hot button topic, which is why we don't delve into it publicly or privately for the most part. We aren't we don't have the ability to willy-nilly with the IP. So yeah, so there's that. For those of you guys that here's another question I got, and Brian, you can jump in here if you want to. Someone dropped me a question and said, does MMP have interest in sponsoring ASL clubs? Um, and so my first response to that was, I don't even know what that would look like, or the incentive on either end would be. It's certainly something to talk about. Um, and
Yeah, they should probably
go
just
ahead.
send an email to info@multimanpublishing.com, and we would answer that. We sponsor lots of tournaments and things like that, usually through product donation. Club might be a little different, but it might be a situation where maybe we can work out a discount on starter kit sales or something
Right,
like that. It's something we would have to talk about, but it's definitely something we'd be interested in. Anything that helps grow our hobby base
right.
is something we're interested in.
And I will add to this before you get off, Brian. I will add to this. If you're doing something that raises money for charity, for the most part, you can count on us being in as long as everything checks out. We're all about uh, philanthropy, and we do the thing at Winter Offensive for the World War II Foundation, and there's a ton of different organizations around the world, from Wounded Warriors to the Fisher House. We would love to be able to be involved in charitable fundraising for veterans organizations and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything we do like that that's sponsored is somehow tied into World War II. I mean, those
Yeah,
are we like to show our appreciation for those guys. If nothing else, the subject matter created through history is huge,
right.
and we really do enjoy supporting it. And unfortunately, we know through the World War II Foundation, more and more of the gentlemen that fought in World War II are passing each day. There's quite frankly only a few years left at best. And so anything we can do to help support those guys and get the message out, or their stories out, which is what the foundation is all about, is something we're 100% behind. And on that note, I got to go get my mother from the home and bring her here for dinner. So you guys have a great Mother's Day. I know Kurt's
Thanks,
going to keep
B.
talking. Remember, he can't promise anything without talking to me first. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Oh, hey, one of the things I wanted to mention for those of you that weren't at Winter Offensive last year, um, we started. I came up with an idea about a year and a half ago, and we came to fruition this last year. And basically, we created an ASL Hall of Fame. And there is a gorgeous trophy, recognition to the members that made it. The initial inductees. It was kind of like Major League Baseball when they started the Hall of Fame. They went back and brought the greatest ever, and we John Hill, um, uh, Charlie Kibler, Bob McNamara, Bill Connor, Fish. I'm forgetting somebody. I'm going to forget somebody. Anyway, they were the initial inductees. And the idea is that every year at Winter Offensive, we will have a new class inducted if new members are brought up. Next year, those were all kind of founders. Oh, Perry Cock. Perry was inducted as well. Next year, I'm sorry. Also, I want to say Hill 621 and the Guards Counterattack were the first two scenarios ever inducted into the ASL Hall of Fame. So next year we're going to do it. I think we're going to make the Hall of Fame kind of MMP centric as opposed to ASL specific, because I think we're going to honorarily induct Dean Essig, who recently passed. As Dean has been such an amazing friend and such a huge part of the hobby. But this year we will probably start inducting players and content creators, names like McGrath and Pleva and Nixon and Schelling, Stoller, for all those guys are all being talked about. And then but the reason I bring this up is if you don't attend Winter Offensive, you now know. But more importantly, we are going to probably put out a public poll or survey to allow players to potentially be the purveyors of inducting product and scenarios. Official product, official scenarios only. But we really want the players to get involved. And just so you know, the criteria is there's a board of people, a group of people who vote on the candidates, and the candidate has to be 100% to get elected. So, but we're thinking about possibly product and scenarios and things like that. So yeah, there's that. Also, let's see. So that's most of what I have on my list. Let me go ahead and check. So somebody asked about the rad chart. We actually published, not a small one, but we actually published our own little chart book. And if you don't have this, you should. This is there's a chart you can order directly from MMP. And then Pete, you know what? You know the answer to that question. We need scenarios for always. Starter kit stuff, clearly. We're getting a lot of stuff from well, it starter kit, just so you guys know, starter kit took on a life we never envisioned it taking on. We didn't envision people getting into starter kit and not moving to ASL, which is fine. But we've kind of had to alter our workflow to we actually have a starter kit team. So and then
What I mean is, Kurt,
go ahead.
what I mean is, Kurt, make full ASL using the full ASL rule set, but only using starter kit counter mix. So people who have the starter kit but
That's a
don't want to just
fantastic
spend
idea.
$1,000
Yes,
to get
yes,
full ASL.
that would, yes.
Okay, I can buy this
Yep,
this
yep,
winter offensive pack and use the stuff I have, and
yep.
everybody else who has ASL stuff can use it too.
Yep.
All right, that'll be my next challenge for
That
take that
right
up as a
there, folks,
challenge.
is why Pete Schelling is who he is. Cop, will MMP publish operations as downloadable content from Wargame Vault? I can't answer that. It's certainly something that we will take a look at. For the most part, that stuff should still be available. I don't know what is and is not available. I haven't looked. But Neil, good question. We've put a pause on that product based on what's going on over there. Number one, because of the company that we work for or in contract with, right? Yeah, Cop. There's debate, right? I mean, one of the issues we have to be aware of is, you know, if we publish all this stuff online, then no one buys the product because you won't need it. You can just play vasl. And getting back to the fact that we're a business, you know, that's something that we need to keep a hold of. Yes, Blitzkrieg. We are in. MMP is doing very well. Financially, we're doing well. We have not we have not had a year where we lost money. COVID hit us like it hit everybody else, but we're getting back on track. So Hasbro's been great with us. They kind of let us do, they check in. And by the way, Contested Lands is that conversation. They are Hasbro is a big company, and so you and I think we all know what we do. We do what we do to honor history. We do what we do to teach history. We do what we do because we revere the people and the events. And we're one of the last bastions of education for military history. Not everybody sees it that way, right? And that's a concern. Because, you know, in the world that we're living in right now, and I told you we're not going to talk about politics here, but in the world that we live in now, perception is so much more than important than reality, unfortunately. So Contested Lands is a product that was submitted to us about the Arab-Israeli war. It is done for the most part, but we've been told to hold, so we will hold, and we'll deal with that on a you know, we're contractually obligated to do it by a specific date, and at which time things will change for the submitters, which aren't favorable to us. But we'll honor the contract, and whatever that ends up happening or ends up being, is what it will be. But we're right now that's on hold, and we don't know what that looks like. So we don't tread lightly. We just don't tread, right? We're not gonna we listen. Everything we do right now is in in our desire to keep ASL alive and thriving, which means, you know, Hasbro doesn't bend us over a barrel. Yes, one of the other things in talking about TPPs, we pay a legally required fee. That's what you do when you have somebody else's copyright, right? The third parties don't pay that fee. We do, and it's not small. It's not a small amount of money. You're talking very comfortably six figures. So there's that, which again adds to our the feelings and the emotions we have around third parties. And finding it comical, by the way, that third parties actually put copyright and trademark logos on their product, which I think is funny. But anyway, yeah, that's where contested lands. Right now, Trail Runner, that's second. Yeah. Well, Trail Runner, you should know any scenario that is updated will have under the scenario title, it will say this was published earlier as scenario ABC in XYZ product. For the most part, I could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure, and somebody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure every time we update anything, the scenario title, we have in small font under that it is an updated version of an old product. But yeah, I don't know. What is this? Hey, Runner, what is starter kit EP? What did I miss? I'm missing expansion pack. Okay, all right. If I'm not now again, I'm not in the warehouse or the store. I think maps are available separately anyway. They may have stopped that. I haven't checked recently. But yeah, we are trying to avoid okay. Yeah, right. It gets back to finances. We'll publish a print run, and we just don't have the warehouse space. Believe it or not, we have a pretty significant amount of square footage, but we don't have extra space to order extra product and just leave it. We try to kind of almost like a retail store. We're trying to move product out of the warehouse as quickly as we can to make room for other product and the stuff that goes with that. Because as you can imagine, when a product like Beyond Valor comes up for production, all of those components are shipped to the warehouse and we collate them. You're talking about a massive project, and I don't know if you guys know about the Utah project, which is coming up, which is this massive game. We're looking at enormous amounts of square footage needed to be able to collate that product and put that product together. So, it's certainly a barter system in the sense that what we publish and what we print, as opposed to what we keep in stock. Because having stuff sit in the warehouse is just money down the drain if we're not moving the product. So, but again, I get back to hopefully you guys will see through, and that's, I guess, the hope. You guys will see through the rule book stuff to understand we're not trying to make every penny of every dollar that we can on every product. We're trying to trying to combine the best possible experience as a customer of ours with the game. And so, we don't just jack up prices on products to make our margins bigger. We have a very thorough method by which we sell product based on production costs. And we're a small company. That production cost we pay up front. And you're talking about six figures for a lot of products. Easy six figures for production costs. So yes, There is other starter kit stuff in the pipeline. The Stalingrad, there's a Stalingrad with the Red Barricades maps being worked on. And then, is there any products MMP is producing? You know what? I think, and the question was, is there any product we're interested in producing or keep with the product we design and submit? And that's Zeno. Zeno's one of the guys working on the Spanish Civil War module, by the way. I think that we do ourselves a disservice if we ask for specific things. You guys are far more imaginative and creative than a group of guys sitting in a room. The ideas that you come up with generally and that's, by the way, for any of you out there that are designers and creators and submitters, I can tell you this. As the guy who takes those submissions and takes the raw submission to turn it into potentially official looking product, your product, if we accept it for production, where it falls in the pipeline has everything to do with the level of the submission. And maps, not hand drawn paper maps, but maps and counter sheet requirements, thoroughly vetted rules. Probably the most important thing is a round of play testing. Just even a single round of play testing, because you'll find that if you guys play through a round of your product, it tends to be, you find things that are just, oh my God, I'm glad we didn't submit this because we would look like idiots. And Pete can speak to that as well, because and Bill, if he's still on there, Bill Cirillo, those guys are probably two of the top submitters from a design perspective, not just because of the creativity, because that's absolutely there, and you're going to see that in Ponry in spades, but they understand. It has nothing to do with being a good player, by the way. It has everything to do with being a good designer. Your product and your submission, the quality of that submission has everything to do with the timeline. That's one of the complaints, and Pete, you can jump in here in just a second. One of the complaints that I know is out there is it takes us forever to do things. Well, it takes us as long as it takes us based on the stuff that you submit for it to get published. One of that's, and bouncing back to the third party stuff, one of the reasons that third parties hurt us in a sense is the large number of people who play test third party products and don't play test our stuff. Play testers are at a premium, and I'm not going to just let me just caveat that good play testers are at a premium. Anybody can play test. Doesn't do us any good if two guys that barely know the rules play test a product. Because half the time they'll go, oh, I forgot to do this, and we didn't do this, and we didn't. That's a useless playtest submission. But good playtesters are hard to find and hard to keep, and because it's a thankless job in a sense. It doesn't. There's no $1 million compensation. It's just your time, and that's, we recognize the value of that. So Pete, just real quick from a design perspective, when you create something, what is your intention when you hand it off?
Well, the process for me is what I call, anybody in business understands the term, proof of concept. So I play test something first, at least once, usually twice, with another good player, usually Bill Hayward, just to test that all the creative things that I'm trying to do with this scenario, the new SSRs, do the victory conditions work, or are they going a little too far out of the comfort zone for one scenario? So I call that proof of concept. If I'm satisfied with the concept, then I'll put it in the Asslock mini tourney and have, it's a variety, not all good players there, but that's gotten to be a lot of the same guys every year, so they know what to expect. It's a risk for them if they're trying to win, but more important is the feedback.
Right.
And for things like the Asslock action packs, I turn that, I'm satisfied with the concept. Concept works. I have a fun scenario that's unique. I turn that over to Brett and he and Bill Hayward, they get it balanced. They're both better players than I am, so they're going to understand balance better. At some point, I try not to have any sacred cows, but there's what I call don't change the flavor of the scenario too much.
Right.
Well, if
Right.
you need to do that, get back to me first. But
Right.
they have full carte blanche to drop a squad here, add a heavy machine gun to that side, whatever they want to do to make it feel balanced on the little things, as long as the scenario retains the same flavor that I tested for concept.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say with a couple hundred scenarios now, they're not all perfectly balanced. Even Brett and Bill, sometimes they'll play something 3 times and it takes them the 3rd time to get it, and they're very good players. So some people aren't going to understand that the importance of interior lines to the Americans in the one from the last action pack. So
Right.
sometimes you want, and that's okay for the sake of variety. There's 12 scenarios.
Yep.
Some of them are going to be easy to grasp right away. Some of them are going to be a little more nuanced. Some of them will be rules heavy. Some of them will be light heavy. That rules light. That's my goal, to make a variety.
Right.
And give something for everyone, what I call it.
Let me just add to that. One of the things, and it's a discussion I've had with Pete quite a bit. I run submission. All the submissions come through me, and so one of the things that I am adamant about is trying. So and Pete's a great person to use as this example. A lot of Pete's scenarios will have very unique, whether they be mini purchase tables or each player places 4 wrecks or random die rolls for flames, or just gives it a lot of replayability. My goal as one of the guys running the playtest, understanding that very rarely do ASL players sit down and play a scenario multiple times, right? I want that Pete Schelling aha design moment to happen in the first playing. I don't want you to play a scenario and then say, oh, wow, I didn't realize we could do this. Or I didn't realize we could do that. That to me, because guys, generally, we don't have the time. And there's so many scenarios. Generally, people don't go back and play them and a second time, which is why I have a keen eye towards a lot of SSRs, a lot of overlay. Go look at Roar. It's so simple. If you rank Roar by scenario playings, you will find that it goes from no overlays at the top to maximum overlays at the bottom. And now vasl is a godsend in the sense that it changes the difficulty and barrier to entry for that stuff, but it holds true throughout. One of the things that I've tried to work with when working with guys that are submitting hassles is, don't give me a 55-page rule book for a module with 30 pages of SSRs to already add to the most complicated game system ever made. Not that players, but I'll give you a great example. I learned this as I'm designing this the Fox and the Rats, this Desert Hassle, that you look at the playings. Desert is down towards the bottom. And I came to realize as I'm playtesting, Desert is easier to play than Urban ASL, number one, and it is way faster to play than normal scenarios for a lot of different reasons, and it creates an entirely new strategic and tactical outlook on ASL, because there isn't rally and route terrain everywhere, and there isn't concealment to be gained and lost and all the things to go with that. It's very it's an open ground battlefield. And I realize now I love playing desert scenarios because they are much simpler and they are faster. But you get somebody to sit down with a scenario and 2 players that are meeting for the weekend to play, and they sit down and they see a scenario card with 12 SSRs and 6 overlays, and one of the guys is like, you know what, let's just play Tatsugeki. I envision that being how it happens. As again, vasl has eliminated a lot of that, but as we work on product and try to have product, I want, and it's one of the things I told Pete with Ponry, a lot of this Ponry scenarios will be played at tournaments because they are of the right size and the right turn length. So it's my job to make sure that they're as balanced as they can be. when they go out the door, because that first playing, I want all the I want every scenario to be an instant classic when you play it. I don't want there aren't any just throwaway dogs or anything like that. Now there's a size that scenarios get to, and I found this with the monster scenario for pondering, but balancing is impossible. You can't balance it. There's too many units and too many turns and too much map. What you have to do is play through it to make sure none of the mechanics and none of the SSR, nothing's broken, and then let the players play it. Because balance is much more attainable when you reduce boards and when you reduce counter mix. And then you get to that level where this is a tourney level scenario, and then there's the one below that, which is I'm not going to play this because one bad dice roll ends the entire game. Recognizing those things before we publish them, to me, is one of the most important things that I can do, and that I'm working with with Bill and with Sean Deller and Andrew Rogers and Pete and all the guys that go with that. So listen, I don't want to take much more of your time. It's been about an hour. If anybody has any pressing questions, and you guys can post questions, come back and post questions here. I prefer you post it on the ASL vasl, the Discord ASL channel, because that's where we want traffic to go. But the questions that I got, we'll look into about different things, the registry. I really do want to be a guy that starts to be and partake in potential teaching venues at tournaments like WBC. I'd like to have an ASL, and for those of you that don't know, I played professional baseball for about 20 years in the United States, and I don't want to say I'm not a celebrity in the ASL market, because half of you guys never put a jock on, but that's okay. It's actually one of the reasons I love it, because I can sit down and just be one of the guys. But where I can whore my name out to increase the time in the hobby, I will do that. And if playing a 3-time world champion at ASL is something that brings a new player in, I'll more than happily do that. So anyway, this is hopefully something we will do monthly, twice monthly. I don't know, but hopefully you guys can go out and spread the word, and send in questions ahead of time, topics you guys would like to talk about, things you'd like us to look at. We're always open to suggestions, and we're always available, for things like that. So for you guys like Neil and Stu, and guys that are out there with YouTube channels, and guys that are out there doing what you do to grow the hobby, thank you. I don't know any other way to put it. Thank you. You don't have to do that. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, even though it might not get said enough. And where and when MMP can help you, we're glad to do that. But hopefully what we'll end up doing is we'll get this monthly or twice monthly meeting put on a video where you guys it can be watched afterwards. We'll look at setting up specific monthly dates. Certainly won't be on Mother's Day. But that was actually somewhat intentional, just to make sure that we didn't have an overflowing crowd. And I think this format kind of works, although I'd prefer to talk less and interact more. Yeah, so if nobody you guys are, and you, by the way, guys, you're welcome to hang out here and shoot the shit. You can, if you don't know, you can left click on the camera on the bottom to bring your video up, and unmute your mic. You guys are more than welcome to hang out here and chat and do whatever, anytime.
Hey, Kurt, this is Bill Cirillo. Before you go, so is there a gathering next Sunday?
No. Again, we had planned on doing this monthly. We'll kind of take it. We'll see how the feedback from this one comes, Bill, and then we're not limited. We can do it 4 times a month. We can do it 3 times in a week. We're not limited by anything other than the desire for people to get together and talk, right? I certainly, you're one of the people, along with Pete, I would certainly like to have on as have your own roundtable, talk about design, talk about, you guys are doing the magazine around Twilight of the Reich. You're going to be more than welcome to, as long as you don't put your camera on, so I don't have to see the mug. But you guys are more than welcome to host and have discussions or what. I just tried to convince people that Discord is the quickest and easiest way to get stuff done. You can be on in 2 clicks, and you can fix a 20 email chain in 5 minutes on Discord. But the age of this audience, they're so tech averse in some ways that it's a little bit of a challenge. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, but Bill and his group are putting together. They're going to be publishing a magazine around Twilight of the Reich with design articles, strategy articles, tactical articles that show you how to utilize the overlays or the terrain on the overlays and stuff like. Because it's a very, it's one of those products I think that initially the younger player is going to get a little bit scared of because they're going to see the amount of overlays on a map or the SSRs. But I got to tell you guys, there's a hell of a lot of fun to be had in some of those scenarios. The 3-player scenario might be the best 3-player scenario ever made for ASL, and it's legit. Like, it is legit. If you want to spend a weekend with 2 buddies playing, I absolutely implore you to play that one.
There's plenty of opportunity for smack talk. So thanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just
No,
make sure
but
whatever you do, you kill Deller
go
while
ahead.
you're doing it.
What's
So
that?
whatever you do when you're playing that 3-player scenarios, make sure you kill Deller while you're doing it.
Right. Yeah. If you're in
yeah.
the 3-player game with Deller or Cirillo, those 2 need to be your immediate targets.
No, you just kill Sean.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but Bill's easier to kill than Sean, I think.
Thank you, Jim Bishop. That's always a quality comment.
And you guys that don't know, obviously, I think most of this is consistent people that are on the channels. Jim Bishop is the guy whose website Bishop says has some of the best rules learning articles ever written. And Jim is a guy that has helped the hobby sustain and maintain in ways that not a lot of other people have, and it's greatly appreciated. And he's a decent player. I mean, I decent would be probably as high as I would go, but if you're looking for an opponent, yeah, he's.
I mean, he'll even go out of his way to hand you his radio just because he doesn't need it anymore.
No, that was Sean's radio. That wasn't mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, but I thought you handed it back. You handed it back, right?
He asked politely, and I gave it back to him. Hey, Kurt, I just want to let you
know
know
demolition charges.
You mentioned earlier you're looking for an ASL player registry, and I emailed you the Google map that has everybody.
Right.
All the ASL
Yep.
players.
Yep.
It's been mailed to you.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. That is a great resource. The problem is, Jim, like everything else, not a ton of people know about it or utilize or use it. And so. Go ahead.
ASL has become the community's fractured now. It's got 7 different Facebook groups. It's got a Discord server in 7 different places. I tried to bring it together. I came this close, but I just couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, from a business perspective, it behooves us to have that collation and collection of people in one place. And it would be great if it was on our website, but I don't care as long as. But there's a potential method to getting that more organized. And again, it doesn't need to be something players need to check in on other than just getting your information out there, because like I said, I didn't realize there was that many people local to me in Tennessee that I could play. And I think that's it. Go ahead.
Ping me after. I'll tell you what I was going to do, and maybe it'll be useful for you. I had a plan. I just couldn't make the first step because it was being an unreasonable cost. But give me a shout. I'll tell you what I had in mind.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Like I said, you guys are more than welcome to hang out in here. Just as an FYI, all of the channels are locked. I have a lot of text channels on here with playtest stuff. The one that isn't locked is Priority Playtest. In that Priority Playtest, you guys will see the Hazel map that is slated to be in operations, as well as the scenarios with the vasl setups for those scenarios. Now, the map has just changed dramatically, so the scenarios are getting tweaked. But if any of you take that map or those scenarios at any point in the future and play test them, by all means, please submit a playtest report if you do that. But it's a neat little action, and that's a Charlie Kibler done vasl map. that we will be putting in the next operations magazine, along with at least 3 scenarios. So, and again, this is the German attempt to relieve the Corson pocket in I think 43. Yeah, 43. With I think it's the 1st Panzer Division and the 15th Guards. But the scenarios have been fun. The 3rd one is kind of cool. It's got a peat shelling feel to it. There is no OB. You purchase your entire OB. And the 2nd scenario, the Russians set up all HIP. So there's some really cool stuff in it. But if you do, there, like I said, the vasl map is there, and the vasl setups are there, as well as the scenario cards. But if you do, please drop me a playtest report on your thoughts. So, all right, like I said, the channel's open. You guys are welcome to sit and bullshit and talk and do whatever. I'm gonna have to go, I think, to the store with my wife, but I'll be in and out, and I'll be playtesting tonight. So, again, thank you guys for the time. Seriously, I mean that. I recognize as I get older, time is my most valuable commodity. For you guys to give time is greatly appreciated. And I'll catch up with you guys soon. There will be some sort of announcement on the next roundtable and where we're going to go with that. So have a great Mother's. Yep, have a great Mother's Day, guys, and thanks again.
Get to the chopper!
If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you saw, thanks for watching, and let me know how I can do better. See you in the next video.